The soft glow of twilight stretched across the dense forest bordering the winding river, where gentle ripples whispered secrets only the wild could understand. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, and the faint melodies of birdsong floated between the trees, blending with the distant murmur of flowing water. It was the kind of peaceful evening that calmed even the most troubled soul. On the riverbank, a young woman named Lila, dressed in the vibrant traditional attire of the Kayan tribe, sat quietly. Her dark eyes traced the silhouette of a small wooden boat, a simple yet sturdy craft known locally as a whispering skiff, gliding slowly toward the rocky rapids ahead. The skiff moved steadily, seemingly unaware of the jagged stones lurking beneath the water's surface. "Stop. Watch out for the rocks," Lila shouted, her voice trembling with concern as she leapt to her feet, waving her arms frantically. But the lone occupant of the skiff, a young man, paid no heed. His hands gripped the oars with practiced ease, his calm demeanor belying the danger that lay ahead. The boat lurched suddenly, scraping violently against the sharp stones hidden just beneath the surface. With a jarring crash, the skiff overturned, sending the man plunging into the cold river. Lila gasped, rushing toward the edge, her heart pounding as the water swallowed the boat and its occupant from view. "Help! Is anyone there?" She called desperately into the surrounding wilderness, but only the echo of her own voice returned. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the usual sounds of life falling silent in response to the tragedy. Minutes later, a figure emerged from the shadowed tree line, a young man wearing a weathered hat woven from river reeds and a cloak dusted with the mud of many journeys. His presence was unexpected, almost ethereal, as if he had been summoned by the river itself. "Are you all right?" Lila asked, relief washing over her as she saw him safe and dry. He smiled faintly, the corners of his eyes crinkling with warmth. "I am Rael, river guide, and guardian of these waters. Not many dare challenge the rapids near the Gorge of Echoes," he said, nodding toward the treacherous stretch ahead. Lila's worry shifted to curiosity. "I've heard stories of this river, whispers of spirits that protect it, of curses laid long ago. Are they true?" Rael's gaze darkened for a moment, but his voice remained steady. "The river holds many secrets. Some are truths, others are warnings. But tonight, it seems fate has brought us together." As the sun slipped below the horizon, casting fiery hues across the sky, Lila and Rael walked together along the riverbank, their footsteps stirring the fallen leaves. Their conversation meandered through tales of ancient magic, village legends, and the unspoken bond between nature and man. Suddenly, a chilling howl pierced the air, the cry of a lone wolf echoing through the trees. Lila shivered despite the warmth of the evening. "This place, it's more alive than I imagined." Rael nodded, eyes scanning the shadows. "Many who live here respect the balance. But some forces, old and restless, are waking. We must be vigilant." Before Lila could respond, a distant light flickered through the forest, a lantern bobbing erratically, as if carried by a frightened traveler or something else entirely. "Come," Rael urged, quickening his pace. "We're not alone." The two disappeared into the trees, the river's song growing louder behind them, as the mysteries of the night began to unravel. The forest grew thicker and darker as Lila and Rael hurried deeper beneath the towering canopy. The lantern's flickering light bobbed erratically ahead, casting eerie shadows that danced across gnarled roots and moss-covered trunks. The once soothing chorus of the river faded into the distance, replaced by the unsettling silence of the night. Who could be out here at this hour? Lila whispered, clutching her shawl tighter around her shoulders. Rael's eyes narrowed, scanning every rustle in the underbrush. Travelers seldom venture here after sunset. If someone is here, it's for a reason. A warning, perhaps, or a call for help. As they pressed on, a sudden rustling erupted nearby. Both froze, hearts pounding. From the bushes emerged a small group of villagers, faces drawn and pale, eyes wide with fear. "Thank the spirits you've come," said an elder woman, her voice trembling. "It's the children. One of them has disappeared near the old mine. They say the spirit of the Ma-Xo is restless tonight." Lila's breath caught. Ma-Xo? Rael nodded grimly. The spirit guardian or the curse, depending on who tells the tale. It's said to be born from the souls of those who died unjustly, bound to protect or punish the land. The elder woman's gaze darted nervously toward the dark woods. The boy was last seen near the gorge where the river turns wild. Some say the shadows take him. Without hesitation, Rael took out a small talisman, an intricate pendant carved from bone and jade. "This will help us resist the spirit's influence. Stay close, Lila." Together with the villagers, they headed toward the gorge, the path narrowing until it vanished into a maze of roots and jagged stones. The air grew colder, the shadows longer and more sinister. Suddenly, Lila's foot caught on a twisted root, sending her sprawling. As she scrambled up, a faint whisper brushed past her ear, indistinct but chilling, "Return, the debt must be paid." She glanced around, heart racing, but saw nothing but the dense forest. Rael placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "The forest speaks to those who listen, but its voice is not always kind." The group reached the gorge, where the river's current thundered violently, churning white foam against black rocks. Near the water's edge lay a tattered cloth, blood-stained and torn. "It's his," the elder woman cried softly. Rael's eyes darkened. "The Ma-Xo is near. We must be cautious." Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the night. The villagers froze, and Rael's face paled. Inside the mine, a young man gasped. Something moved there. Lila's courage surged. "We can't wait. We must find him." With the villagers' aid, Rael lit a lantern, and they descended into the mine's gaping mouth. Inside, the air was thick with dust and an oppressive silence that pressed against their chests. Deeper in the shadows, a faint sound echoed, a child sobbing, fragile and lost. They followed the sound until they found a small boy huddled against the damp wall, eyes wide with terror. "It's all right, you're safe now," Lila soothed, kneeling beside him. As the boy clung to her, a cold gust swept through the tunnel, carrying with it a whisper, "The debt is not yet paid." Rail tightened his grip on the talisman. "The Ma Exo demands justice. We must uncover the truth behind this curse before it claims more lives." Lila looked into Rail's eyes, a silent agreement passing between them. This was only the beginning. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the promise of dark secrets yet to be revealed. The village lay quiet under a heavy blanket of mist as dawn broke, pale sunlight filtering weakly through the dense canopy overhead. But the calm was deceptive. Shadows lingered, and whispers stirred among the villagers, tales of the Ma Xos wrath and the boy's mysterious disappearance spreading like wildfire. Inside a modest wooden house on the edge of the village, Lila sat beside the rescued boy, named Tarek. His small hands trembled as he recounted his ordeal, eyes darting nervously to every creak and rustle outside. "They said the forest wanted its due," he whispered. "That if the debt wasn't paid, the Ma Exo would come, and take more." Lila exchanged a troubled glance with Rail, who stood by the window, staring toward the dark outline of the gorge. "This isn't just superstition anymore," Rail muttered. "The spirit's anger is real, and it's growing stronger." Outside, the village elder, a stooped man named Jairo, convened an urgent meeting. The villagers gathered in the communal hall, faces etched with fear and uncertainty. "We must find what binds the Ma Exo to this land," Jairo declared. "Only by unraveling the past can we hope to save our future." Lila stepped forward. "We need to search the old archives, the records kept by our ancestors. There might be clues about the origin of this curse." Rail nodded. "And I'll prepare protective charms and rituals. But time is against us. The Ma Xos power feeds on fear and pain." That evening, Lila and Rail ventured into the village's ancient library, a dusty room filled with fragile scrolls and faded manuscripts. Among the relics, Lila found a brittle, leather-bound journal belonging to a long-forgotten shaman. The journal's pages spoke of a tragic betrayal centuries ago, when an innocent family was wrongfully accused of witchcraft and executed near the gorge. Their souls, consumed by injustice and rage, transformed into the Ma Exo, a vengeful spirit bound to protect the land but also curse those who disturb its peace. As Lila read aloud, the wind outside howled, rattling the windows like a warning. "We must be careful," she said. "If we disturb the resting place of those spirits, their wrath will only grow." Rail's eyes darkened. "And we still don't know who or what caused the original betrayal. There may be those in the village who hide dangerous secrets." Suddenly, a sharp knock echoed at the door. A cloaked figure stood in the shadows, a stranger whose face was hidden beneath a hood. "I know what you seek," the stranger said in a low voice. "But some truths are best left buried. Tread carefully, or you will awaken forces beyond your control." Before they could respond, the figure vanished into the night, leaving behind a chilling silence. Lila and Rael exchanged uneasy looks. The path ahead was fraught with danger, not only from restless spirits but from secrets lurking in the hearts of the living. As darkness fell once more over the village, the Ma-XOS whisper grew louder, and the unseen debt demanded to be paid. The village awoke under a heavy grey sky, the thick mist refusing to lift as if the land itself mourned an ancient sorrow. Lila sat by the flickering fire in her modest home, the weight of the shaman's journal resting heavily on her lap. Outside, the low murmur of villagers echoed through narrow lanes, conversations laced with fear, suspicion, and the desperate search for answers. Rael entered quietly, the sharp lines of worry carved deep into his young face. "We can't ignore the stranger's warning," he said, breaking the silence. "There's more at stake than we imagined." Lila nodded, tracing a finger along the faded ink of the journal's fragile pages. "This curse, it was born from betrayal, false accusations, and a massacre. The spirits of that family, wronged beyond measure, were bound here by hatred and grief. The Ma-XO is their legacy." Rael's eyes darkened. "And those who disturbed their resting place have paid dearly. But why now? What has stirred the curse back to life after all these years?" Before Lila could answer, a sharp rap sounded at the door. She opened it cautiously to reveal Jairo, the village elder, his usually steady gaze troubled. "There's news from the neighboring village," Jairo said grimly. "Strange occurrences, livestock disappearing, unexplained shadows at night, whispers on the wind. They say the curse is spreading." Rael clenched his fists. "The Ma-XOS influence grows beyond our borders. We must act quickly." Unearthing the truth. Determined to uncover the roots of the curse, Lila, Rael, and Jairo set out toward the ancient burial grounds near the gorge, where the spirits were said to rest unrest. Along the winding path, twisted roots and gnarled trees loomed ominously, their silhouettes like silent watchers. Lila carried the journal carefully, her heart pounding with each step. According to this, the family's names were Saran, Malus, and their son, Elric. Accused of witchcraft by jealous neighbors, they were taken in the dead of night, tortured, and buried here without ceremony. Rael's voice was barely a whisper. "If the truth is known, perhaps their spirits can find peace. But if the lies remain, the curse will endure." An unexpected discovery. Reaching a clearing near the riverbank, they found ancient stones half swallowed by earth, marking a grave long forgotten. As the wind stirred, faint voices seemed to rise from beneath the soil, desperate, mournful, and angry. Suddenly, Rael knelt beside a loose stone and pried it open, revealing a small wooden box sealed with intricate carvings. Lila's hands trembled as she broke the seal. Inside lay a faded parchment, an old letter written in trembling script. "To those who seek the truth, know that betrayal runs deep. The curse was born not only from fear, but from a thirst for power. Beware those who still walk among you, hiding in plain sight." A cold chill swept over the trio. Jairo's eyes widened. This changes everything. Someone in the village must have had a hand in the original betrayal. Rising suspicion and shadows of danger. Back in the village, rumors began to swirl. Suspicion poisoned relationships, neighbors eyed each other with distrust. Lila and Rael sensed the growing tension and knew that the threat was no longer just supernatural. Human malice, envy, and fear stirred in the hearts of many, threatening to unravel the fragile peace. That night, strange symbols appeared etched into the walls of several homes, ancient runes set to ward off evil, but their appearance was a grim reminder that the Ma-Xos influence was everywhere. The stranger returns. Just as hope seemed to flicker, the cloaked stranger from the previous night returned. This time, he revealed his name, Kale, a wandering scholar versed in the occult and village lore. I have tracked the Ma-Xos curse for years, Kale said gravely. The spirits are restless because the debt remains unpaid. The bloodline of those who betrayed the Seren family still lives here, their guilt bound by silence. Lila's gaze sharpened. Then our task is clear. We must uncover the traitors, face the past, and lay the spirits to rest. Kale nodded. But beware, the closer you get to the truth, the darker the shadows grow. A night of terror. That very night, Lila was awakened by distant cries echoing through the valley. The air was thick with unease, and outside her window, ghostly lights flickered among the trees. Rael found her trembling in the dawn light. The Ma-Xo calls for justice, he said softly. And it will not wait. Together, they resolved to prepare a ritual, a delicate balance of ancient magic and truth to confront the curse once and for all. As dawn broke again, the village stood on the brink. The line between the living and the dead blurred, and the debts of the past threatened to consume the present. The village was shrouded in an uneasy silence as night fell, broken only by the distant howl of wolves and the soft murmur of the restless river. Shadows lengthened, and a cold breeze swept through the narrow lanes, carrying with it the faintest scent of smoke and something more sinister, the scent of old magic awakening. Lila sat by the hearth in her humble home, the flickering fire casting shifting patterns on the worn wooden walls. Before her lay an array of herbs, candles, and talismans carefully arranged according to the ancient ritual she had been studying. Across from her, Rael moved deliberately, preparing the ceremonial tools with steady hands, though attention clung to his usually calm demeanor. We don't have much time, Rael said quietly. The Ma-Xos power grows stronger with every passing night, fueled by fear and anger. Lila nodded, her eyes reflecting the flames. And the villagers are fracturing under the weight of suspicion. We need to bring light to the darkness before it consumes them all. The gathering storm. As word of the ritual spread, the villagers hesitated between hope and dread. Some came willingly, drawn by the promise of peace, others resisted, their faces clouded with fear or hidden agendas. Jairo, the village elder, stepped forward to lead the gathering. We stand on the edge of a precipice, he declared, voice steady but heavy with gravity. Tonight, we face the shadows that have haunted our home for generations. Among the crowd was Myra, a young woman with piercing green eyes and a reputation for sharp intuition. She had returned to the village recently after years away, her presence stirring whispers and curiosity. Myra approached Lila quietly. "You seek to break the curse," she said, "but beware, there are those who profit from its power." Lila studied her. "Who?" Myra's gaze darkened. "You'll see soon enough." The ritual begins. Under the full moon's pale gaze, the villagers assembled at the ancient burial grounds near the gorge. Candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the faces of those gathered, while Lila and Rael took center stage. Lila began chanting in the old tongue, her voice weaving through the night air like a thread pulling at the veil between worlds. Rael held the talisman aloft, its jade surface glowing faintly. Suddenly, a sharp gust extinguished the candles, plunging the clearing into darkness. Gasps and whispers erupted as a cold presence swept through the crowd. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, the cloaked stranger Kale, his face partially revealed by the moonlight. "The time has come," he intoned. "But not all truths will be easy to bear." Secrets unveiled. As the ritual deepened, spectral forms began to materialize, faint, translucent shapes that flickered like candle flames. The spirits of the Seren family emerged, their faces etched with sorrow and rage. Elric's ghost, a boy no older than 10, reached out toward the crowd. "The debt must be paid," his voice a haunting echo. Jairo stepped back, pale and trembling. The betrayal was not just a village matter, he confessed. A powerful faction sought to claim these lands, using fear and superstition as weapons. Myra's eyes flashed. "And some among us still serve those forces, cloaked in loyalty but driven by greed." The villagers exchanged uneasy glances, old alliances crumbling under the weight of the revelations. A deadly confrontation. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. A group of masked figures emerged from the woods, brandishing weapons and chanting dark incantations. They were cultists, devotees of the curse, seeking to protect their secrets by any means. Chaos erupted. Lila and Rael struggled to maintain the ritual's power amidst the attack. Candles were shattered, chants drowned by shouts and the clash of steel. Myra fought fiercely, her movements precise and swift. "Protect the ritual," she yelled. "We cannot let the curse consume us all." As the fight raged, the spirits grew restless, their forms flickering wildly, the air thick with supernatural energy. The price of truth. In the midst of the turmoil, Lila felt a sharp pain in her chest, a warning from the Ma Exo itself. Summoning her strength, she chanted louder, focusing the ritual's power. Rael joined her, their voices harmonizing in the ancient language, pushing back the darkness. Slowly, the cultists retreated, their voices fading into the night, but not without a chilling promise: this is far from over. Exhausted but resolute, Lila and Rael looked upon the gathering. The spirits began to fade, but their message was clear: the village's fate hung in the balance. Aftermath and new alliances. In the days that followed, trust was fragile. Old wounds reopened, but a new determination took root. Myra revealed herself as a descendant of the original Seren family, returning to reclaim her heritage and help break the curse. Together, Lila, Rael, Myra, and Jero formed a pact to uncover the full truth, confront the village's hidden darkness, and restore peace to the land. But the Ma-Xos shadow loomed still, its hunger far from sated. The village lay in uneasy silence under a sky thick with gathering clouds. The events of the recent ritual had left deep scars both visible and invisible. Trust between neighbors was fragile, and unseen eyes seemed to watch from every shadow. Lila stood at the edge of the ancient burial grounds, the shaman's journal clutched tightly in her hands. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying faint echoes of voices long past. Rael approached silently, his face etched with concern. The spirits are restless. But there is something more, a hidden legacy buried beneath the lies. Lila nodded. The letter we found speaks of a bloodline still living among us. We must find them before the curse consumes everyone. The search begins. Together with Myra and Jero, they began sifting through village records, old maps, and oral histories. The task was daunting: generations of secrets buried beneath layers of fear, superstition, and silence. One name appeared repeatedly, Callan, a figure both revered and reviled, said to have been the mastermind behind the betrayal of the Seren family centuries ago. The bloodline of Callan may still walk among us, Myra whispered. And if so, they hold the key to the curse. Shadows among us. The villagers grew restless as strange occurrences intensified. Livestock vanished overnight, eerie lights flickered on the river, whispers haunted the night. Suspicion turned to paranoia. Old feuds rekindled, alliances shattered. Lila received a warning, a hastily scrawled note slipped beneath her door: turn back or face the wrath. Determined, she shared it with Rael and Myra. Someone doesn't want us uncovering the truth. An unexpected ally. As they delved deeper, a mysterious figure emerged from the mist, an elderly woman named Selene, known locally as a healer and keeper of forgotten lore. I've waited for you, Selene said, eyes gleaming with ancient knowledge. The Ma-Xos curse is tied not just to death, but to a sacred oath broken long ago. She revealed a hidden chamber beneath her cottage, filled with relics and scrolls detailing rituals, bloodlines, and a prophecy. The curse can be broken, Selene said solemnly, but only if the oath is fulfilled and the bloodline of Callan confronts its past. Secrets revealed. Late that night, Lila, Rael, Myra, and Selene gathered around the fire, piecing together fragments of history. They learned that Callan's descendants had woven themselves into the village's fabric, their influence hidden but powerful. One name surfaced repeatedly: Darius, a prominent village leader whose family's rise coincided suspiciously with the curse's origin. Myra's eyes flashed with resolve. We must confront him. The confrontation. In the dim light of dawn, the group approached Darius's grand home. The villagers watched nervously as they demanded answers. Darius's calm facade cracked under pressure. He revealed bitter truths, a legacy of power built on lies, sacrifices, and dark pacts. "I did what was necessary to protect the village," he claimed. "The Ma-Xos curse is a price I am willing to pay." A fractured village. The revelation shattered the fragile peace. Some villagers sided with Darius, others with Lila and her allies. The Ma-Xos shadow stretched further, feeding on division. As night fell, an ominous silence settled over the village. The curse was far from broken, and the true battle was just beginning. The village was no longer the peaceful hamlet it once was. Rumors spread like wildfire, and tension crackled through the air like electricity before a storm. The confrontation with Darius had shaken the community to its core, revealing not only dark secrets but also deep divisions. Lila sat in her small room, hands trembling as she reread the fragments of the ancient journal. The Ma-Xos curse was no longer just a tale told to scare children, it was a living, breathing threat that consumed everything it touched. Rael knocked softly and entered, his face grave but determined. "We can't wait any longer. The curse is gaining strength. More disappearances, more strange happenings. Last night, another child vanished near the gorge." Lila's heart clenched. "We must act before it's too late." The gathering of allies. News of the curse and Darius's secrets spread beyond the village. Allies from neighboring lands came forth, mystics, warriors, and scholars, all drawn by the ancient power stirring beneath the earth. Among them was Kalen's descendant himself, a young man named Elias, burdened by the legacy of his ancestors and determined to atone for their sins. His arrival sparked hope but also fear. Some welcomed him, others saw him as a threat. Lila met Elias beneath the ancient oaks, their eyes locking in mutual understanding. "We share the same goal," Elias said. "To end the curse and restore peace." The unseen enemy. As preparations began for a sacred ritual to cleanse the land, an unseen enemy watched from the shadows, a dark force fueled by the very curse they sought to destroy. Strange accidents plagued the villagers. Fires broke out mysteriously, livestock were found mutilated, and eerie figures were glimpsed lurking at the edge of vision. Myra, ever perceptive, sensed a malevolent presence growing stronger. "This is no longer just about spirits," she warned. "There's something ancient and hungry awakened." The ritual's price. On the night of the ritual, the village gathered once more by the river, where the Ma-Xos power was strongest. Candles flickered, and chants echoed through the valley as Lila, Rael, Elias, Myra, and others called upon the spirits to grant them mercy. But the ritual came at a terrible price. As the energy swirled and the veil between worlds thinned, a violent storm erupted, thunder roaring like the wrath of the gods. In the chaos, a figure appeared, the true mastermind behind the curse, cloaked in shadow and wielding dark magic. The villagers recoiled in terror as the dark figure unleashed a torrent of energy, shattering the ritual circle. Betrayal in the midst. In the confusion, a trusted villager revealed their true allegiance, a disciple of the dark figure, working to preserve the curse's hold. Chaos turned to panic as friends turned on friends, the line between ally and enemy blurred. Lila and Elias fought side by side, their powers combined in a desperate bid to contain the dark force. Rael and Myra rallied the villagers, defending the sacred grounds. The aftermath. Though the dark figure vanished with the chilling promise of return, the village was left broken and bleeding. The ritual had been disrupted, the curse stronger than ever. But the fire of resistance burned bright. Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra vowed to uncover the dark figure's identity and confront the true source of the Ma-Xos curse no matter the cost. The village had barely begun to recover from the devastating failed ritual when a new menace stirred within the depths of the Whispering Woods, a tangled forest bordering the cursed gorge. The air there was thick with unnatural silence, as if the trees themselves held their breath in fearful anticipation. Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra stood at the forest's edge, preparing to venture into the unknown. They had discovered that the source of the dark magic was rooted deep in these woods, where the boundary between the living and the dead thinned to a fragile thread. "We don't know what awaits us," Elias warned, his voice low and steady. "But it's the only way to unravel the curse's true origin." Into the heart of darkness. The forest seemed alive, whispering secrets in an ancient tongue only half understood. Shadows flickered just beyond sight, and the very ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Myra's senses heightened, every rustle setting her nerves on edge. "We are not alone," she murmured. Suddenly, from the thick underbrush, glowing eyes appeared, spectral wolves, guardians of the curse, their forms flickering like pale flames. Rael raised his staff, chanting protective words, while Lila stepped forward, her voice echoing in a calm but commanding tone, "We come in peace. We seek only to end the pain." The wolves hesitated, their ghostly forms shifting between hostility and sorrow, before slowly retreating deeper into the forest, leading the group along a winding path. The Forgotten Shrine. The spectral wolves guided them to a clearing dominated by a crumbling shrine, ancient and weathered, covered in moss and vines. The air here was heavy with power, the remnants of a long-forgotten pact between spirits and mortals. Carved into the shrine's stone were symbols that Myra recognized, binding sigils meant to contain a powerful force. Elias stepped forward, tracing the carvings with reverence. "This is where the original betrayal took place, where the sacred oath was broken." Suddenly, the ground trembled. From beneath the shrine's base, a dark fissure split open, revealing a shadowy figure imprisoned within the source of the Ma-Xos curse. The prisoner's tale. The figure spoke, voice like the rustling of dead leaves, "I am Violin, once a guardian of balance, betrayed and bound by those I trusted." He revealed that centuries ago, Violin was a protector spirit wronged by mortal greed and treachery. His imprisonment twisted his essence, birthing the Ma-Xos curse as both shield and weapon. "Release me, and I will restore what was lost," Violin pleaded. "But be warned, only those pure of heart and intent may survive the trials." The trials begin. To break the curse, Lila and her allies must pass 3 ancient trials designed to test their courage, wisdom, and compassion. Failure would mean eternal damnation, not just for them but for the entire village. The first trial awaited the trial of courage, where they would confront their deepest fears in a realm between worlds. Taking a deep breath, Lila stepped forward. We have no choice. For our village, for our future, we must face whatever comes. Shadows from within. As the group prepared to enter the trial, whispers arose from the forest, voices of doubt, temptation, and despair seeking to turn them against one another. Myra clutched her pendant tightly, feeling the heavy weight of unseen eyes. We must trust each other, no matter what shadows they cast. The air thickened, and the forest seemed to close in around them as they stepped through the threshold into the unknown. As Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra crossed the invisible threshold, the world around them dissolved into shifting shadows and swirling mists. They found themselves standing in a bleak, desolate landscape, a place neither earth nor spirit, but something suspended between realms. A chilling silence pressed down on them, broken only by distant echoes of laughter and cries, distorted voices from memories and nightmares. Stay close, Rael urged, gripping his staff tightly. This place feeds on your fears. You must confront them, not run. Lila's descent into darkness. Suddenly, the ground beneath Lila cracked open, swallowing her into a swirling abyss of shadows. She landed in a dense forest shrouded in mist, where the trees seemed to whisper accusations and blame. Before her appeared a figure, a twisted reflection of herself, eyes burning with hatred. You are not worthy, the shadow hissed. You will fail. You cannot save them. Lila's heart pounded, but she forced herself to stand tall. I am more than my fears. I fight for those who cannot. Her voice echoed, and the shadow recoiled, dissolving into the fog. Elias haunted past. Elias found himself in a crumbling fortress, echoes of his ancestors whispering betrayal and pain. Ghostly hands reached for him, dragging him into memories of failure and loss. A vision of his father appeared, accusing and cold. You are weak. You will doom us all. Summoning every ounce of strength, Elias faced the vision. I am not my father's sins. I will break this cycle. The fortress trembled, and the ghosts faded away. Rael's test of resolve. Rael stood alone on a mountain peak, battered by storms and howling winds. Shadows loomed, threatening to engulf him in despair. A spectral voice whispered, you chose this path. You will be alone. But Rael held firm, chanting protective incantations. Lightning cracked, illuminating his determined face. I am not alone. I stand with my friends, with the village, with hope. The storm broke, and light pierced the darkness. Myra's trial of compassion. Myra found herself in a village ravaged by disease and sorrow. Children cried, elders wept, and the weight of loss pressed down. A spectral figure approached, offering salvation in exchange for surrendering her will. "No," Myra whispered, tears in her eyes. "True strength comes from compassion, not surrender." She tended to the spirit's wounds, easing their pain, and in return, they blessed her with light. Reunited and stronger. One by one, the companions emerged from their trials, changed but unbroken. "We faced our darkest fears," Lila said softly, "and found strength we didn't know we had." Rael nodded. "But the trials have only begun. The path ahead is still perilous." Elias looked toward the shadows at the forest's edge. "We must prepare for the next trial, the trial of wisdom." A warning from the shadows. As the group gathered their strength, a cold wind swept through the land, carrying a sinister whisper. "The Ma-Exo watches, waits, and the price of failure is eternal." A dark figure observed from afar, its eyes gleaming with malevolent intent. The forest around them seemed to breathe with ancient secrets as Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra prepared for the second trial, the trial of wisdom. Unlike the fierce, personal confrontations of the trial of courage, this test promised to challenge their minds and spirits in ways more subtle but no less deadly. A narrow path opened before them, twisting and folding into a labyrinth carved from ancient stone and entwined roots. The air was thick with the scent of moss and damp earth, punctuated by faint whispers that teased at their minds. Rael stepped forward, tracing a glowing sigil on the ground. "This labyrinth is alive. It will seek to deceive us, to turn us inward. We must rely on each other and the truth within ourselves to find the way." The puzzle of memories. As they entered, the labyrinth shifted and morphed. Walls shimmered like mirages, and the path seemed to fold back on itself endlessly. Soon, they found themselves confronted by illusions, memories warped and distorted. Faces of loved ones appeared, calling them away, or accusing them of betrayal. Lila saw visions of her village in flames, of friends turning against her. "This is not real," she whispered, steadying her breath. "I must remember who I am." Elias confronted a mirror that reflected not his face but a monstrous shadow, whispering of failures and inherited guilt. Rael heard the voice of his mentor accusing him of cowardice. Myra saw herself abandoned and alone. Together, they spoke words of truth and strength, breaking the illusions one by one. The guardians of knowledge. At the labyrinth's heart, they encountered the guardians, ethereal beings made of light and shadow, embodying the wisdom of the ages. "You seek to end the curse," one guardian intoned. "But to do so, you must first face the truth that binds it." The guardians presented a riddle woven from the village's history and the curse's origin, a test of insight and understanding. Lila studied the riddle carefully. The betrayal was not just one act, but a chain of choices: fear, greed, silence. Elias added, "And the curse feeds on that chain. To break it, we must unravel every link." Rael and Myra combined their knowledge to solve the riddle, unlocking a passage glowing with pure light. A fragment of the past. Through the passage, they entered a vision, a memory preserved in time. They witnessed the night of the betrayal centuries ago, neighbors turning against neighbors, the innocent Seren family dragged away, the sacred oath broken in blood. But amidst the darkness, a figure emerged, a young Kalan, torn between loyalty and ambition, his face marked by regret. Myra whispered, he was not a villain born, but corrupted. Lila felt a new resolve. We must find his descendants and seek their aid. The price of knowledge. As the vision faded, the labyrinth trembled, threatening to collapse. The guardians warned, the knowledge you carry is heavy. Use it wisely. Outside, the village awaited anxiously. The group returned, changed, and enlightened, but aware that the greatest challenge still lay ahead, the trial of compassion, and confronting the Ma-Exo itself. The village prepares. Back in the village, tension simmered. Darius's followers grew bolder, sowing discord and fear. Myra's warnings went unheeded by some, who doubted the trials and the ancient curse. Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra knew that their unity was the village's last hope. A new threat emerges. Late one night, an ominous fire broke out near the village granary. The flames roared, threatening to consume the harvest. Amidst the chaos, a shadowy figure slipped away, unseen but leaving behind a chilling message scorched into the wood: the debt remains unpaid. The village lay under a heavy shroud of tension and uncertainty as the group prepared for the final and most perilous trial, the trial of compassion. Unlike the previous tests of courage and wisdom, this trial demanded a purity of heart, the capacity to forgive, to heal wounds both old and fresh. Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra stood together at the edge of a crystal-clear lake nestled deep in the whispering woods. The water's surface was unnervingly still, mirroring not only their reflections but the countless memories, regrets, and sorrows that weighed on their souls. Selene, the elder healer, had prepared an ancient chant to guide them. This trial will show you the deepest truths within those you hide even from yourselves. Only by embracing compassion can the Ma-Exo be truly laid to rest. Visions of sorrow. As they stepped into the lake's shallow waters, the surface rippled and shimmered, pulling them into vision scenes from the village's tragic past. Lila saw her ancestors arguing over land and power, jealousies that festered and spread. She witnessed the betrayal of the Seren family not as a single moment but a cascade of choices fueled by fear, pride, and silence. Elias faced the pain of his own lineage, mistakes made and repeated, a cycle of guilt that threatened to consume him. Rael saw the villagers suffering in the present, fractured families, mistrust, and the slow erosion of community. Myra was shown the pain of those who had suffered under the curse, including herself, and the sacrifices made by her ancestors. Forgiveness and healing. The water glowed softly, and voices whispered words of forgiveness and hope. Lila stepped forward, tears streaming, and spoke aloud. We are not defined by the sins of our past, but by the choices we make now. Let us forgive, and in doing so, heal the wounds that bind us. Elias joined, pledging to break the cycle of pain. Rael and Myra echoed their sentiments, their voices merging into a chorus of renewal. The lake's surface calmed, radiating a warm light that washed over the village like a gentle tide. The Ma-Xo's true face. As the trial ended, the group was transported to the heart of the Whispering Woods, where the Ma-Xo waited no longer a shadowy curse, but a spirit desperate for release. Violin, the guardian turned prisoner, looked upon them with sorrow. "You have shown compassion where others showed only fear," he said. "The curse is lifted not by vengeance, but by understanding." He revealed the final truth: the betrayal had fractured not just families but the spirit world itself. Only by uniting the village and embracing their shared history could peace return. The final confrontation. But peace would not come easily. Darius and his faction, desperate to maintain control, launched a violent attack to seize the village's sacred grounds. Lila, Elias, Rael, Myra, and their allies stood firm, defending their home in a battle that blended the physical and the spiritual. The Ma-Xo's power swirled around them, a tempest of anger and sorrow. In the climax, Lila reached out with open hands, channeling the power of compassion to calm the raging spirit. The storm subsided, the curse lifted like a veil, revealing a sky bursting with dawn's first light. A new beginning. The village slowly began to heal. Old wounds mended, families reunited. Myra took her place as a leader, guiding the village into a new era. Elias, freed from the shadow of his ancestors, found hope in the future. Rael continued to protect the river and the land. Lila, forever changed, knew that true courage lay not in battle alone but in the power to forgive and rebuild. Golden rays of dawn pierced through the lingering mist that clung to the ancient Whispering Woods. The village nestled beneath the mountain awoke to a world transformed, bathed in light, hope, and the promise of renewal. Lila stood quietly by the riverbank, watching the crystal-clear water flow steadily, as if washing away the shadows of the past. Yet deep within her heart, she felt the weight of the arduous journey that had brought them here, a journey that had left an indelible mark on her soul. The village's renewal. With the Ma-Xo's curse finally lifted, the village was freed not only from darkness but from generations of fear, suspicion, and fractured ties. Slowly, the people began to heal. Myra, the rightful heir of the Seren lineage, rose as the village's new leader. Guided by wisdom and compassion, she shepherded her people toward a future bright with possibility. Darius, once a figure of power and dread, had stepped away from his position, humbled by the truth of his past mistakes and ready to seek redemption. Remembering and reconciliation. At the ancient shrine where Violin, the guardian spirit, had been imprisoned, the villagers gathered to hold a solemn memorial. Candles flickered in the gentle breeze as prayers were offered to the souls long burdened by injustice. Rael stood nearby, holding aloft the ancient talisman, a symbol of protection and unity between mankind and nature. "We cannot forget the past," Lila spoke softly to the gathered crowd, "but we can choose how it shapes us. Today, we turn the page and begin anew." Bonds forged in trials. Through shared trials and hardship, the bonds between Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra had grown into a family forged by fire and trust. One golden afternoon, beside the peaceful river, Lila and Elias exchanged vows of love and commitment, their hearts entwined like the flowing waters, enduring and eternal. Rael and Myra too found solace in each other's company, their partnership a beacon of hope born from adversity. Seeds of Hope. Children's laughter filled the fields of lush green rice paddies, chasing away the ghosts of fear. Homes were rebuilt, roads cleared, and the village thrived in harmony, free from shadows of curses or bitterness. Epilogue. The journey continues. Though the Ma-Xos curse was broken, the lessons of courage, wisdom, and compassion remained as guiding stars lighting their way forward. Lila gazed at the endless sky, feeling the pulse of the earth and the spirit of her people woven into one. Life is a journey, she reflected, and no matter the trials ahead, we will walk it with open hearts and unshakable faith in the goodness yet to come. On Ban, this final chapter closes the epic tale with warmth, resolution, and hope, perfectly fitting for the rich story we built together. Title: Whispers of the Ma-Xo, The Curse of the Whispering Woods. Description: in a remote village shadowed by an ancient curse, four unlikely heroes, Lila, Elias, Rael, and Myra, embark on a perilous journey to unravel the dark legacy of the Ma-Xo, a vengeful spirit born from betrayal and sorrow. As they face trials of courage, wisdom, and compassion, they uncover buried secrets that threaten not only their lives but the very soul of their homeland. Bound by friendship, love, and hope, they confront the shadows both within and without, striving to break the curse and restore peace to their fractured world. A gripping tale of supernatural mystery, redemption, and the enduring power of forgiveness.